Hey, savvy subscribers. Today I want to share with you the mistakes I've made in cold calling, and hopefully it'll help you not make the same mistakes. I know many of you probably have cold calling as a part of your sales accountability. And yes, you can be successful at cold calling. Right after this, I'll share with you all of the mistakes to avoid so you can be wildly successful at cold calling. Keep watching. Hi, I'm Christine Harrington, the Savvy Sales Lady, your personal YouTube sales coach, helping you to become savvy at selling so you can improve your sales, make more money, make a difference in your lives and all those that you sell to. Mistake number 1, inconsistent cold calling. When you're inconsistent about cold calling, you'll never become exceptional at it. It's just like exercising. If you only exercise 1 hour a month at the gym, you'll never get the results that you want to see, right? It's the same thing in cold calling. You just can't cold call maybe a few times a month and expect to get exceptional at it. I hated cold calling so much I had to actually psych myself up before I picked the phone up to start calling. And I used to only cold call once a month. This will come as no shock to you, I'm sure. I was really bad at it. I had to face the truth. I was never going to be an accomplished cold caller if I didn't start doing it more frequently. So I changed my strategy and I started cold calling every day. My goal was 100 cold calls a week, and then I divided it up into making 20 calls 5 days a week. That's how I started. I could tolerate making 20 calls a day. After I became more comfortable at cold calling, I started making 100 calls in one block of time. So my suggestion to you is take this strategy, gradually work up to cold calling 100 phone calls in one block of time. Start with 20 a day, 5 days a week. Mistake number 2, my script. You might be thinking, whoa, Christine, now you always preach using scripts. You're right, I do. My problem with scripts was twofold. First, I read the script like a robot. And I was frequently hung up on because it was painfully obvious to the person I called that I was inexperienced at cold calling. In the beginning stages, I had no idea how to develop rapport by using my tone and words. We're going to get into that on another video. So check back in with the cold calling series. Second, my scripts were written by me, but they were all about me, my product, my company. I hadn't learned yet how to have a cold calling conversation that was about the buyer. And I hadn't learned yet how to write an exceptional script and how to split test. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, split testing is when you take 2 scripts and you divide up the number of calls you're going to make. So let's say 100. You'll make 50 calls with script A, 50 calls with script B, and you'll test it and see which one is the better script. I highly suggest you do this. You want to see which script gets the better results before you blow through 100 calls, right? Mistake number 3, practice. In the beginning, before making calls, I might run through the script a couple of times and think I'm good. Sound familiar? Then when I started placing calls, I'd stumble right through the script. I learned early on to practice, not by reading through the script silently, but by recording it over and over and over again and listening to it the way the buyer would hear it coming from me. I learned so much doing that. You need to know how the buyer hears you. So I discovered a few things I needed to change by listening to those recordings. I needed to change the tone of my voice and drop it so it didn't sound so nasally. And because of being anxious about cold calling, I talked too fast, so I needed to learn how to slow down and pace the conversation. Mistake number 4, only set the appointment. This is the major mistake I made. I was only product dumping. I was trying to sell instead of only setting an appointment. As a result, I'd get an abrupt, "I'm not interested," and then I'd hear a dial tone. I would have hung up on me too. Mistake number 5, expecting too much. When I first started cold calling, I expected way too much. And because of that, I often got disappointed and discouraged. Instead of seeing cold calling as a learned skill, I thought I could pick up the phone, make 20 calls, and set 15 appointments. How unrealistic was that? Do you have similar expectations when cold calling? Lordy, I was naive. I hadn't developed mental toughness, and I let discouragement take its hold on me. I convinced myself that cold calling didn't work. Do you tell yourself the same thing? Be realistic when cold calling. And that leads me to the final mistake I made. Track and analyze. I didn't track and analyze my numbers. Big mistake. If you don't track, then any little type of improvement you make will be unrecognizable. Always track your numbers. I'm so obsessed with this now. I have my cold calling numbers on an Excel sheet that goes back 10 years ago. I wish I would have tracked over the last 30 years when I started cold calling. And when I go back over that Excel spreadsheet and see how my cold calling numbers have improved year after year, it's proof that cold calling not only works, but I'm improving. I've dedicated myself to cultivating a cold calling mindset. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Just like sales, cold calling is a numbers game. I remember at one time I made 500 cold calls and didn't set one appointment. I remember it like it was yesterday. Today, I can make 100 cold calls. I can get through to about 20 to 22 decision makers and usually secure 10 to 12 appointments. That's how much I've improved. So you see why I love cold calling? And you will too once you have dedicated yourself to really studying and learning all aspects of cold calling. You can do what I do. Now, in this cold calling series, I'll be adding more and more videos to help you improve your cold calling results. If your buyers don't know about you and your products, they can't buy from you, right? That's why cold calling is important. Learn how so they can hear your message. Now, I have a question for you. Are you willing to give these cold calling tips a try? If you are, will you give me a thumbs up on this video? And if you're not a subscriber already, I'd love for you to join the Savvy Sales community. It's a community for all salespeople. But more importantly, remember this: sales is a journey. It's not a quick trip around the block. See you on the next video. Daddy, spread your wings and fly.